to the Tuesday edition of Talking Football, and today covering the events of the German, Italian and Spanish leagues. With me here in the studio are once again football analysts Yoav Borovic and Amit Leventhal. And today we'll talk of Borussia Dortmund, who gives Bayern Munich a run for its money, at least for now. We'll mention the revival of Inter, and we'll look at the top teams in Spain. All this and more coming up right now. We begin in Germany, where Bayern Munich traveled to Darmstadt and easily won 3-0. Amit, we didn't really expect them, Darmstadt, to be the one taking first points this season from Bayern Munich. Wolfsburg travels to Munich in midweek. That's a different story.
Yes, it can be because Wolfsburg, many expected them to actually to fall after the success of last year, but they doing
and the transfer.
Yes, but losing De Bruyne but they're doing fine so far, and they're not so far behind. Still, Bayern. I'm impressed, I'm not a big Guardiola fan, if I may admit, but still bringing Douglas Costa. Not many people thought it would be such a big success, but so far he's done brilliantly. He's Bayern maybe best player this season. He leads the charts in assists. He's also a great playmaker, making the difference, which is very, very important in the Guardiola system. When you control a lot the ball, you must have these talented guys that on one-on-one can create spaces. And Bayern are cruising. The big test will be in Europe, but Wolfsburg can give them a challenge. Yes. And
they're dealing you off with injuries again. Robben was out, Lewandowski was out. But then we see a system like this one. There's always someone to come in if they're away. So there's the Costas, the Arturo Vidals. There's always someone coming in.
Abundance of riches in Bayern in the last few years. Just so many talented players. On top of this, there is a system of Guardiola, like Amit mentioned, and I think still, Ribéry, we haven't been talking about him. He's been out for months and months, and Ribéry was the main guy there. So they can still handle the Bundesliga for sure, without Ribéry, without Robben, without other players. The question is, one, will they be stronger than Dortmund, who's also playing spectacularly? And also Wolfsburg is pretty strong team, but not on their level. And the question is in Europe, still, we just started the season, but Bayern looks pretty good. They brought in some good players, and it seems the system is working, but it's been working all the time. The question is what happens in the semifinals and the finals, the quarterfinals.
It was refreshing, by the way, seeing Sebastian Rode, a German player, not very well known, but he was, I think, the best player in this match, providing 2 assists. So, they have so many talents, and it's nice to see new faces like Vidal and Coman scoring their debut goals for the team. So far it's perfect. But again, only in the spring we'll have answers. Yes.
Bayern Munich hold a perfect record, as you say, but they're only second, as the first spot goes to Borussia Dortmund, who you have mentioned. They're also perfect, but with a better goal difference after beating Bayer Leverkusen 3-0 at home. 5 games, 18 goals, which means more than 2.5 per match. Amit, are they able to keep it?
It's I think it reminds me a little bit like they said, okay, all this enthusiasm about Klopp is gone, so let's forget about it and let's bring again Klopp or someone who looks like Klopp and
behaves like Klopp.
And but Thomas Tuchel is doing really, really fine job. Not many changes, in personnel, but still you see Shinji Kagawa, for example, like 5 years ago, playing to his best. And every match Aubameyang scored. And for me, the biggest change of all is Henrik Mkhitaryan, who last year he was missing a lot. But he was not effective. And this season, 9 goals, 8 assists in 11 games. You cannot ask for more from your playmakers.
They traveled to Munich in 2 weeks.
Yes, that's going to be a super match. But Tuchel is a very young, capable coach. People in mind, some people said he's better than Klopp. They're actually quite different tactically, because Tuchel is more of a possession guy. But what he's been able to get out of those individuals, Mkhitaryan, this turnaround, and Kagawa, after being almost 2 years out of top football, and of course Aubameyang on top, it's really tremendous. But again, we don't know also the level of the competition, and this is something. And a team greatness is always measured in consistency. Yeah. So we need to see consistency.
Well, they don't have the strength in depth that Bayern have, and I think they also lapse in defense will cost them. So they are not.
They're still the runner-ups,
but they actually make you much more enthusiastic about football than Bayern.
We'll see if they can play the September style in April. Here are all of the results from the Bundesliga, where just ahead of their visit to Munich, Wolfsburg beat Hertha Berlin 2-0, Bas Dost scoring twice. Switch manager Lucien Favre took Mönchengladbach all the way to third place last season, meaning they play in the Champions League, but that does not help them at all this season. They lost all 5 matches so far. Following the latest defeat to Köln, Favre decided to leave, and it's unclear yet who will lead the club for the rest of the season. And another interesting result, Schalke remained close to the top 2 after winning 1-0 in Stuttgart. We now head south to Italy, and here's a team we did not have much of a chance to talk about in recent years. Inter was the last Italian team to win the Champions League. They won 5 consecutive championships during the second part of the previous decade, but they've been far from the top. Now Inter are 4 out of 4 in the Serie A following their 1-0 win over Chievo this weekend. Maybe the secret here is the fact that they kept their coach for a second year, even if they did not do so well last season. That's something they have not done since Mourinho was there.
I totally agree. I think this continuation is very important, and we're not talking just another coach. It's Roberto Mancini. It's a coach who did great things with Inter. It's a very, very well seasoned coach.
He's basically the one that started the Inter dynasty about 10 years ago.
True. And, he went to England. He also experienced success there. He's well-traveled. He's seen everything you can see in football. And I'm sure he's a big advantage. It's the post-Moratti era in Inter. It's a new team. They don't have the funds they used to have. But also the Italian league is not as strong as it used to be. We saw very one-sided battles in all of the last few years. So still, it's going to be very tough for Inter. Of course, when you have Juve, who is stronger, and maybe Milan and Roma, but it's a good start for the season, and he can work some miracles there, Mancini.
You mentioned you have Juventus, so it's time we can say Mazel Tov to Juventus. They finally get their first win of the season in the Italian League, 2-0 over Genoa, which came 5 days after another major win, this time in the Champions League. It may have taken them some time to get used to the changes in the summer. Big names going out, big names coming in. Is it finally happening?
I still have my doubts about this new Juve after, losing Vidal, Pirlo, and Tevez. These are, really key players in the spine of the team, So it's difficult to cope after that. And you see players like Mario Lemina, a very talented midfielder that playing. And you must say Allegri is not afraid of, bringing in his new players like Cuadrado, and, he doesn't mess with it. He gives them many minutes, and he's not afraid. And they're a very good team. I think they have great strikers. I'm not sure they'll have a good season as the last 2 or 3. They are still favorites for the championship, but I'm not sure still about Juve. I need to see more of them. They still, even this victory against Genoa, this win was not convincing at all.
But we do have an interesting league, which we haven't had for years when we're talking Juve, Inter, Roma for sure, and maybe Milan. So suddenly we see more.
It's only the beginning,
It's only the beginning, but it seems on the surface that it's going to be more competitive than recently.
Than it was in recent years,
for sure.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Let's now take a look at all of the results from this weekend in Italy. And right behind leaders Inter are Torino, who beat Sampdoria 2-0. Roma's gap from the top is up to 4, as they could only manage a 2-2 draw at home with Sassuolo. But there was a big moment in this game as Francesco Totti scored goal number 300 for the club. And look at Napoli. After a disappointing start to the season, they exploded with a 5-0 thrashing of Lazio at home. Now we move to the Spanish League, and here are all of the results from this past weekend. After scoring 5, 6, and 4 goals in their last 3 matches, Real Madrid took it easy this time. It may not be as impressive, but winning 1-0 is worth the same amount of points. Karim Benzema gave the Merengues the home win over Granada. Atletico Madrid win 2-0 in Eibar. Angel Correa and Fernando Torres both came from the bench to score. Villarreal and Celta Vigo are up there in second place with 10 points, along with Real Madrid, following their victories. And the first spot still belongs to Barcelona, who are 4 out of 4 after beating Levante at the Camp Nou. Amit, let's start by talking about Barcelona. 4-1 is impressive, and yet it was not easy. They pressed on the first half. They could not score. Only after the first one came in, things got better.
Yes, and again, we look at these fixtures after the Champions League games, and you see people, many teams struggling. Atletico Madrid, for example, only 2 substitutes, came off the bench. Torres and Correa both scored and assisted one each other. So the same was here with Barcelona. Lots of rotations, 5 changes in the starting lineup. But when you have such a big players, everybody's waiting for the moment that it will happen. And at the end, Messi also, missed an opportunity for a hat-trick.
Missed a penalty.
Yeah, but it's, cruise control for Barcelona. It's not really test. I don't have much to say about this game other than Leo Messi finally, starts scoring, and we all waited for that to happen.
And you have one problem they do have is injuries. There's no Claudio Bravo, there's no Rafinha, there's no players which they may have brought in the summer, but they cannot play until January.
The roster is not as deep as it used to be, and for sure there are 2 ways to look at Barcelona's start of the season. One, they're not impressive, yet they win 4 out of 4, the only team. Think what will happen when everything will be clicking. The other way to look at it is maybe Barcelona is not as strong as they used to be. They also overachieved last year with their great season. Still, winning the treble is something historic, and maybe we're looking at a change of guards with the suspension they have, with the punishment, it's hard for them to bring players until Turan joins in January. Still, I think Barcelona are obviously going to be up there, But I'm not sure they're stronger than Real, and it's going to be very interesting to follow those 2 teams in Atletico.
I think Barcelona has. I think the main issue is the same was last year and the season before. They don't have, they lack in their bench is not too good enough. Let's say that, put it that way. They're not deep, and whenever a big major sign gets injured, Barcelona didn't have many major injuries in the last couple of seasons. But if that occurs, then they are suddenly in trouble.
That's the
problem.
I
think Barcelona, Bayern Munich, who also started not at the best of form this season, but yet still winning. Real Madrid, all these teams, the last 6 seasons in Europe, all the time they arrive to the final stage, to the semi-final. They know they need to be at their best in come April, come May, come March. And they all know that now they need to gain points, because now you cannot win the championship, but you can lose it. So you need to be good, but not at your best, and you need to build your momentum.
Now, you mentioned Real Madrid. As we said, they were not stellar on offense this time, as they were in previous match. One other positive aspect is their defense, which was the thing that hurt them most in previous seasons. 5 games so far in the Champions League and the Spanish League, no goals conceded. Maybe if there's a good thing from the De Gea thing, it's Keylor Navas.
Yes, Keylor Navas is a talented goalkeeper, and Rafa Benitez is a talented defensive coach. His team is going to be organized. I still don't think they did the right thing by substituting Ancelotti with Benitez. But if they win the championship in the Champions League, of course it will be the right thing. And Benitez is a good coach. I'm still not sure about the chemistry with Ronaldo. Still a lot of questions. Still, Barcelona has more top talent among the top 3-4 best players. Yet, when Real is going to have a strong defense, it's going to give them a very, very big advantage, because we know that Barcelona's defense is shaky.
And they play Wednesday night in Bilbao, a place that hurt them a lot. They lost there last season, a loss that perhaps even cost them the championship to that extent. Can it happen again?
Yeah, it can. Bilbao, maybe they're not at their best as we used to know them, yet playing in the San Mamés, the Leones, they really don't like Real Madrid over there. And we must also mention that Real is missing some key players. Gareth Bale, in the Rafa Benitez system, he's the main guy. He wants him to be the number 10, the felicitator, the one who creates chances, and he was their best player even when Ronaldo scored 5 goals that night. So Bale is an important ingredient. Also Ramos in defense, especially when you play away against a strong team and a strong opposition and the supporters. So Sergio Ramos as well, but Real They know that now they're already 2 points behind Barca. 2 points is okay, because but when it started to be more than that, more than one game, suddenly you start feeling the pressure. So they must keep the pace with Barcelona.
And shortly, you have finally Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone, if you talk about a player feeling the rhythm of his players, of a coach feeling the rhythm of his players, that's the case. 2 substitutes, bingo.
Of course, this whatever this guy does there is a masterpiece. Also you looked at them in Turkey, winning big, bringing those people off the bench. Suddenly, Fernando Torres, El Nino is starting to play better. Really, what's been done in Atletico Madrid is tremendous. They're still not good enough to overcome Real and Barca. They just don't have the talent. The gap is too big. But it's tremendous, and it's going to be very nice to see this team, hanging in the top, because we saw already in the last 2 years they can work some miracles there.
I guarantee the moment Diego Simeone leaves this club, they will not be at the top anymore.
Amit Leventhal, Yoav Borovic, thank you very much. That's it for Talking Football this week. Due to the Jewish holidays, we will be out for the next 2 weeks. We'll be back as usual right after. Till then, thank you for watching, and have a beautiful day.